We stand in Wyandotte County Museum, Kansas, next to the original bell from the St. Casimir Lithuanian Church of Kansas City. That church was closed very long ago, basically in 1940s, and very often when Lithuanian church gets closed down, the community and everything else disappears within a decade or 2 decades. But here in Kansas City it has been reborn, and much of the credit for it goes to the Zemaitis family, and I am speaking with Sally Zemaitytė-Danov, who was among those who refounded the Lithuanian club and activities in 1980s. So how did you manage to do that after this church was closed?
Well, a lot of the community dispersed and people moved different places and married other people, of course, into other nationalities. But in my family, it was always very important that we honor our heritage. We ate the food. We talked about our traditions, and it was just always a very big deal in my family. Even though my grandmother was Irish English, my mother as well, it was just always a very big deal for us, Zemaitis family, to stay Lithuanian and keep honoring that. My father and his cousin at a funeral actually started talking about getting the community back together in about 1980, 1981. They had a big picnic, they had a big festival, and little by little we kept gathering back all of those who had kind of dispersed. We formed a new community, we formed a dance group. It's been going for 30, 40 years now. We now have immigrants from Lithuania that are here now that are participating. So it's been a lot of fun to continue to research my roots and to do things like the Bell Project and get our bell back for the museum and enjoy our traditions and our culture.
Yeah, I see the bell even has the last name of your family. Well, my family has the same last name as well. So how did you manage to get this bell? As I understand, after St. Casimir was closed and torn down, it was moved by the bishop to some other church. And how did you manage to get it back and put it here in Wyandotte County Museum?
Well, my parents always knew the bell was at another church, and they had always told us that someday we need to get that bell back. Seemed like a very insurmountable task to me at the time, but my father kept pushing me, and before he passed actually, and one day we decided to climb up into the bell tower and see the bell and see the condition that it was in, which we did. My father was in his 70s at the time, and harrowing climb up the tower to see it, and we could see that it was still in really good shape. We decided to talk to the church and see if they would let it go because it wasn't being used. They were using more of a technologically advanced bell system. The church gave us permission to move the bell. We worked with the Wyandotte County Museum to bring it here, and then the Archdiocese approved the bell's removal at the time. A new archbishop moved in, didn't like that decision, but still honored his predecessor's decision to let the bell go. So again, with the help of the museum, we moved the bell. We took it out of the bell tower with a roofing company and a huge crane. It was in the paper at the time, the newspaper at the time. We raised a lot of money in our community to make all this happen, and brought it in here. The museum helped pay for this lovely base that's here. And here it is for everyone to enjoy.
I am very glad that Kansas City Lithuanian community builds something for other people of Kansas City and the future generations to see that this community exists here, because in some of the places where Lithuanians existed, let's say immigrated 100 years ago or such, there's nothing left visible to remind that they were once part of the cultural fabric and perhaps still are. This Reborn Lithuanian Club in Kansas City. So who participate in it, like the ages of people, and when did their forefathers immigrate, and are there just full-blooded Lithuanians mostly, or are there mixed people who also come, or perhaps even non-Lithuanians who just join for fun?
Yes, all of that. There's non-Lithuanians. My mother was not Lithuanian, but she was extremely active in the group. I'm fourth generation, so it was my great-grandparents that came over. And so there's a lot of people like me that are my age, and maybe even some older as well, that are still involved in the community. We've all been doing this since the 1980s, as I said, and putting on events, Christmas parties, Independence Days. We have a Joninės celebration in the summer. We're doing that. There are, as I said, new immigrants that are here. There's probably about 15 families of immigrants. They are not as interested in the dancing, some of the more organized activities. I think that with that group, it's more about just getting together with your family and your kids and eating, drinking, having a nice time. So it's a little bit of a difference. I think my generation is more interested in keeping our memories and knowing our history and keeping those things alive, whereas the new immigrants, I think it's different for them. I think they may go back to Lithuania. They're here for now and they're working hard, raising families, great people, and we all have fun together. But it's still a small community. It's only about 50 to 75 people that are active.
Besides Wyandotte Museum here, there is also a museum in Strawberry Hill that represents the Lithuanian and other ethnic communities, and also there is a site of the former church where unfortunately nothing remains, but each of these locations are marked on the map.trulithuania.com map of Lithuanian American heritage that we have came here to create, and also global.trulithuania.com encyclopedia of Lithuanian American heritage, and all that can be accessed for free in both Lithuanian and English.